2023 looks to be another really good year of anime.
Well, that was a fucking lie. 2023 was a pretty mixed bag for anime. We had some good, some bad, and some stuff that should definitely put that author on the Epstein list. This year, I made some changes to the format, so let's not waste any time, let's jump right into it. It slipped my mind last year to mention any of the movies that I happened to watch. For future installments, I'll try to keep it to only movies that will release to the year of the countdown, but for now, here are some spotlights. I don't really give a shit about Dragon Ball Super, and aside from the movies, never bothered really watching the show. However, Gohan is my favorite character, and after a celebration of life for Harry, me and my friends decided on a whim to go watch it. It was a really fun movie that highlights what I think Dragon Ball has always done the best. Silly, goofy fun along with some dope-ass fights. And I also got this pick of Abe out of it, which is just... mwah, masterpiece. I don't really have a whole lot to say about this movie other than it was a really cute and satisfying way to end the series. Also, as a manga reader, seeing Chi at the very end brought light to my cold, dark heart. I've repeatedly made my feelings on Kaguya-sama known over the years, absolute fucking banger that doesn't disappoint. And this was a very good way to transition from the end of the third season into the next arc. Now, on to the shit show. I'm not including the show because I think that it's bad, but rather because I have no clue what to really think about it. You know, I'm happy to say I think the artistic work of a pedophile fucking sucks. Big win for society. If you want to know how I feel, watch this video.
Why are you here to meet a 14-year-old girl?
I grew minors! We are sex before! 1, 2, 3, 4! Hey! Hey! Hey!
You can imagine my shock when it was announced that Scott Pilgrim was getting an adaptation by fucking Science Saru of all studios. But this show was an absolute joy to watch, especially if you've already seen the live-action movie. Take everything you know about conventional harem anime and instead put the Mega Chad of all Mega Chads in as the protagonist. A really funny comedy and a good parody of the genre. I did consider putting Spy Family Season 2 as an honorable mention, but I decided to go with Gay Family instead. Why did we have to transition the story to a school setting? I genuinely loved the first season of the show, and while the show was starting to lose me a bit, it brought me right back during the finale. Can't wait for Season 3. Lengthy production delays notwithstanding, this show was a pretty fun watch. If you're looking for a show to just put on, turn your brain off, and have some fun, give it a go. I'd be remiss to not acknowledge fucking Oregairu of all series getting an OVA in the year of our Lord 2020 and free. But it's time for the top 10 now. Let's get into it. Number 10. I've mentioned plenty of times over the years that I have suffered from pretty severe insomnia. When I read the premise of this anime, I felt like there was a chance I could have something really connect with me. This show was everything I wanted and more. I mentioned during last year's top 10 with Call of the Night that I completely understood the freedom of and the breathtaking beauty of the night. This show introduces you to a completely different perspective, showcasing the brutal tragedy of not just being a night owl, but someone who quite literally cannot sleep despite every brutal, painstaking attempt to do so. More than anything I related to was the discovery our main character Nanami had when he slept next to our other main character, Magari, for the very first time. The feeling you get when you finally find someone who brings out such an inner peace within you that allows you to drop down all the walls and just relax in totality, it's one that I would give the world to experience again for the first time. The romance in the show also felt realistically paced, and exactly how two clumsy high schoolers trying to convey their feelings to someone truly special would. I struggled a bit in coming up with the rankings for this top 10, but this one deserves it for sure. Give it a watch. Number 9. I was one of the people who knew of the coming arc in Vinland Saga and was hoping to God that people wouldn't lose interest in the show because of the slower paced season 2. To my surprise, not only was that mostly not the case, we even somehow got a meme out of one of the most important and poignant moments in the story. That's how you know you've made it, honestly. I can't speak about anyone else's feelings but my own, and I'll be honest and admit, there have been a few times during Vinland Saga's run that I wasn't particularly invested nor cared super much about it. Both times, however, not only has the story managed to turn it around completely for me, I've shifted from I don't see the hype to oh my god, this is fucking peak. The second half of season 1 convinced me that this was a great show. I was losing sight of that as, I can't lie, I was a bit bored at times during the start of the Farmland Saga arc. Then the second half when the action picked up again arrived, and I was convinced that if the show continues with this level of quality, we could be seeing genuine peak in the making. What impressed me most was the show's ability to essentially deconstruct our main character, Thorfinn, and let both him and the audience know that not only was his motivation during season 1 effectively in the wrong, but that it showed us him finally applying everything he had learned into becoming a man who is truly worthy of being Thor's son. I might make some people mad because of my takes regarding it, but that's okay. I have no enemies. Number 8. Horimiya is one of the few pieces of media where I genuinely wish I could have more. I want to see these characters more. I want to see their daily lives, I want to see their struggles, I want to see their triumphs. I want to see major accomplishments and the most mundane of things. It's such a fantastic story, and one that I think all fans of romance should give a go. It's one that means a lot to me. I can still remember one of my girlfriends crying tears of joy when I mentioned that Hori and Miyamura reminded me of us. It's one that's gonna stick with me for a while. Whether it's the manga, bootleg scans of the original webtoon, or a 26-episode joyride, please experience what is, in my opinion, one of the most realistic depictions of romance I've ever seen. Number 7. I started reading one of the manga adaptations of this light novel sometime in 2022. When I heard that it was getting an anime adaptation, I was hoping that we not only get a good one, but that the other people in the greater anime community would broaden their horizons a bit and experience such a great story. In the hands of an industry veteran taking on only his second directorial role and a superstar team of composers, I watched the trailers and immediately got hyped. Making sure to tell Abe to be on the watch for the show because it was gonna be a banger. In a bit of a shocking announcement, it was revealed that the first 3 episodes would all be coming out on the same day. I sat down for my weekly anime binge, tuned in, and from the opening alone, I knew that peak had been achieved. The thing that impresses most about Apothecary Diaries is how each episode is able to capture the attention of the viewer, and I think a large part of that goes to the story's main character, Mao Mao, an orphan girl who was raised by essentially prostitutes and an old apothecary. She's a delight to watch anytime she's on screen, whether it's to see her solve mysteries, experiment with her unhealthy obsession with poisons, or to see her reject the advances of the series' deuteragonist, Jinshi. The series' first season will likely end around where I stopped reading the manga, so I hope a season 2 announcement comes sometime in the future. Mystery solving, budding romance, amazing music and visuals, an amazing main character, and tons of fun to be had. Don't sleep on the show and get to watching. Number 6.
まるでおとぎの話終わり迎えた証長すぎる旅路から切り出した一節それはかつてこの地に影を落とした悪を打ち取りし勇者との短い旅の記憶
Have you ever witnessed a fantastic epic, a classic timeless story, something that inspires and builds legends? Ever wonder what the heck happens at the end of such a tale? Frieren not only answers that question, it expands and builds open these kinds of fairy tales. Taking place decades after a legendary party finally defeated the Demon King, Frieren is a story above all else learning how to be human and learning how to be content in the conclusion of life. Along the journey, our main character Frieren, an elf who is well over 1,000 years old and the lone surviving member of that legendary party, embarks on a journey that is essentially a roundabout way to jog memories of her days in the hero's party. A decade-long, grueling journey for her party members, a blink in the eye for her. The story is, in essence, an epilogue. A long drawn-out closing chapter to a story of far greater importance. It's in the tale we follow over the course of this story that changes our main character more than anything. Now finally able to truly understand all the things that she had been through before, now able to apply them to other people who she learns to appreciate in the moment rather than years after they're gone. I could go on for ages on why I think Frieren is not only an amazing story, but an example of a studio taking every step and ensuring an absolutely perfect adaptation. I won't lie to you, this one was pretty close to taking a top 3 or even top 2 spot on this list. Held back only by the fact that it's not over at the time that this video releases. If there's any show on this list that I ask y'all to jump on the bandwagon, it's this one. Number 5. How often is it that you can say you're watching a modern classic as it airs? This is the feeling I get from watching Mushoku Tensei. If you've seen the anime 3x3 video, you'd know I was super close to putting this show on my 3x3. Season 2 Part 1 of Mushoku Tensei, much like Season 2 of Vinland Saga, changes the pace of the show immensely. Instead of the high-flying, action-packed first season, we now have to go through a true character development arc. Which is interesting I say that, because I feel that in the end, Mushoku Tensei is a show that above all else is about that character development we all as humans go through. We all at some point in our lives are going to go through some painful or even borderline traumatic shit that will affect us for the rest of our livelihoods. Yet, it's the battle, the struggle, the desire to want to push forward and improve yourself as a person, for any reason. Whether initially inspired by hatred, spite, jealousy, reverence, admiration, or simply the knowledge that you as a person can get better. We seek to improve ourselves and reach a state of peace in who we are, not because we're perfect, but because we were better than we were yesterday. I understand that people have some harsh and negative feelings towards Mushoku Tensei, many of which are completely valid. I understand that some people may despise the main character, and listen, far be it from me to tell you what and how to enjoy media, do whatever you want. But I will say this. The show isn't about presenting you a perfect protagonist, perfect resolutions towards conflict. It's a story of a life. It's of the growth of a person, both mentally, physically, and even spiritually, to just become better than they were the previous day. I think Mushoku Tensei is fantastic. It easily could have, and for much of the year, was a top 3, even 2 anime for me. If you like stunningly animated action scenes, going on a wonderful journey and seeing the betterment of a person, give it a watch and see what you think. Also, Sylphie Best Girl. Number 4.
無敵の笑顔だらすメディア知りたいその秘密ミステリアス抜けてるとこさえ彼女のエリア完璧で嘘つきな君は天才的な愛と様
Have you ever read a manga and just have to stop reading it because you're like, yeah, this is getting an anime? This was me when I read chapter 9 of this manga. I shut my mouth, which was left agape by the big event, and sure enough, less than a year later, the anime was announced. I'll be honest and upfront, for basically until the final week of 2023, this was my anime of the year. This franchise goes to prove that I will watch fucking anything if you attach a goat to it. I literally could not care less about idols, but you tell me the Kaguya-sama author is writing it with art by the Scumwish author? Sign me up. Then in spring 2023, it released, and ooh boy.
誰もが目を奪われてく君は完璧で究極のアイドル金輪際現れない一番星の生まれ変わりその笑顔で愛してるで誰も彼も虜にしていくその瞳がその言葉が嘘でもそれは完全な愛
Akasaka Aka's writing skills are put on full display here, from the comedy, the drama, and the ability to have sections of a manga about fucking idols be borderline depressing. Dude is a goat. I've had a sort of love-hate relationship with Mengo Yukiyari as an author, but her art is undeniably fucking great, and it was translated insanely well in a wonderful anime adaptation by Doga Kobo that had a first episode that was an hour and a half long. The voice acting is amazing, the music is nothing but fucking bops, and the animation not only is faithful to the manga art style, but truly brings these characters to life on screen. Combine that with opening and ending songs, which are both fucking bangers, and speaking of the opening song, as someone who loves music, I can't talk enough about how not since the Lupin and Cowboy Bebop openings have I heard a song fit a show as much as this. The instrumentation both sounding like a typical idol song, while also containing sections of both this melancholic choir hinting at the darker nature of the show, and the chanting sounds of a crowd typical of idol concerts. Mwah. Much like how I describe Mushoku Tensei as a modern classic, we could possibly be witnessing that with Oshinoko filling the role for a pure drama series. And with my goat at the sticks, I have faith. Whether or not you give a shit about the writing team's previous works, idols, the dark underbelly of the Japanese talent industry, I'm convinced this show has enough to capture your attention and hold you onto it. I'll see you all for season 2. Number 3. I made my distaste towards shonen no secret. However, holy fuck, this show is amazing. I remember when season 1 came out and I gave it a 9 out of 10. I felt at the time that maybe I was jumping the gun a bit. It was the first shonen that came out in a long time that I enjoyed is all. However, after this season, nah. Fuck that dude. This show rocks. I was off put by the sudden shift season 2 had with starting with a prequel before the movie even takes place. But we let Gege cook, and cook that man did. It was a perfect setup for the next arc and also makes you understand Jujutsu Kaisen 0 even more. The Shibuya arc is one of the most wild arcs I have ever witnessed. Few times have we had a story this well written, straight up said, fuck it, we're turning the crazy meter up to 11. From the impacts of the characters who, for lack of better words, won't be returning later on in the story, to the near destruction and utter desecration of our protagonist's mental health, to the amazing animation done by MAPPA, which is a testament to the talent of these animators and they really deserve better working conditions, but that's a topic for someone far more eloquent than I. I feel like I can't go fully into detail about the show the way I want to, other than spoiling it, so I'll settle with this. Please watch it, enjoy it, and after you see the end of the season, please join me in asking a question addressed to a certain kink-haired vessel for Skuna.
They called you boring. They called you a fraud. They killed your friends and teachers. They took everyone you loved and used yours and your best friends' faces to do it. They birthed you. They fucked and sucked your father. What will you do, Yuji Itadori?
Number 2. Trying to sell people on the show is one of the strangest experiences ever. You know Astro Boy? The old classic anime by Osamu Tezuka? Cool. You know the guy who wrote all-time bangers like Monster and 20th Century Boys? Naoki Urasawa, right? Yeah, so Pluto is essentially a reimagining of one of the early story arcs in the original Astro Boy manga, the greatest robot on Earth arc specifically. The result of the marriage of idea and creator, you remember what number this is on the list, right? This show is fantastic. The voice acting in the English dub is out of this world. The music done by JoJo composer Yoko Kanno is phenomenal, and in typical Urasawa fashion, masterfully written. The show doesn't obviously have monster level of foreshadowing, but it sets up well enough to make you stop for a second when a twist is revealed. Every single episode, which runs about an hour-ish each, made me fully stop any and everything else I was doing. I was that captivated and that enthralled. Just excellent stuff here, man. If my weird sales pitch doesn't get you to bite, then I have this nugget for you. This is easily by far and away the best mystery show I've seen since, honestly, probably when I watched Monster a couple years back, if I'm being honest. If I'm being truthful as well, this is the anime of the year. Easily the best thing that came out in 2023. But, once again, I made a decision to go with something closer to the heart rather than critically the best. But don't sleep on the show at all. Genuinely fantastic. And finally, number 1. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse sometimes with this fucking franchise. There's no franchise aside from maybe Lupin that means more to me, and that holds more real estate in my heart than Rascal Does Not Dream of. I've cried to this series more than I'm willing to admit, and it was a very long, arduous 4 years in between waiting since the last movie came out. We're far enough into the story that I can't do much in terms of explaining the story without spoiling so many major plot points that this is the deal that I'm gonna have to cut. I'll give you a quick rundown, and then here's a timestamp that will take you to the closing sentiments of this section where I talk about how jank it was to watch this movie. The short of it is that this movie wasn't the absolute masterpiece that either the show or the previous movie were. However, it ties up one of the biggest remaining visible loose ends of the story in a way that not only leaves you feeling satisfied, but also perfectly hints and transitions into the next movie, which also came out in 2023. But unfortunately, we'll probably get relegated to the movie recap in 2024's list. Like I said, here's the timestamp if you want to see the end of this segment and if you want to avoid the spoilers. If not, welcome boys to
Spoiler territory.
This movie takes place sometime after the conclusion of the previous one, and largely focuses on our main character, Sakuta's little sister, Kaide, who is finally recovered after she dealt with the in-universe Deus Ex fuck you known as puberty syndrome. She had it so bad that she was essentially a completely different person, and wakes up as the Kaide she was prior to shutting herself out from the world due to bullying. The film's central premise is pretty simple. It's all about Kaide applying to high school. The main conflict comes from current Kaide wondering if she should fulfill the wish of past Kaide by going to her older brother's school. The movie lacks the utterly devastating and heart-wrenching moments of the previous film, but still doesn't fail to make an emotional impact. Especially in the scene when Kaide finally selects which school she wants to go to and learns how her brother feels about her. That got me teary-eyed. I can't wait to watch the next film, and I hope this means a season 2 will come out sometime in the near future. As a personal side, before we jump out of this video, thank God I know both Spanish and a very elementary baby level of Japanese, because while I appreciate having seen the movie, holy heck were the subs a fucking mess to read. Sometimes switching between Spanish and English, and me having to listen closely to the Japanese being said because the subs didn't really make it clear what was going on. Shout out to the crazy bastard who managed to sub it though. You're the GOAT. This is a franchise that means the world to me. One that I've tried to share with the people closest to and loved by me, and one that I hope can mean something to you. Please give it a watch.
That was my list of the best anime of 2023. I was hoping not to jinx 2024 like I did 2023, but 2024 seems to be the year of shoujo and romance anime, so don't be surprised what dominates my top 10 next year. If you want to see the director's cut of this video with my original intent and feel, please feel free to click the link down in the description. This year I have a ton of video ideas that I finally feel I'm in a good enough place to be able to do them, so please look forward to that. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Cesaro for helping me edit. Thank you to Lee behind the camera who's helping me film right now. Watch some anime, like, comment, and subscribe. All that fun YouTuber shit. Catch you later.